Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of In Conversation with ASI. I am joined by Tina from Trash to Treasured, who has agreed to participate in this series as part of our Intro to Styling Week, which is so exciting. And Tina, I know that not only have you featured heavily across our information evenings that we host in Sydney, but, you know, you're someone with a really large following. So generally when we mention that you're part of our community, people are like, oh, I love Tina and what she stands for. And I think you're a really great representation to us on someone who has taken something that I guess was a bit of a hobby for you, doing your blog, Trash to Treasured, and then really leveraged it into this full-time career. And that's really what I want to explore with you today, is how you've gotten where you are, because it's so exciting.
Happy to discuss it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're so welcome. I mean, it's a no-brainer for us. We absolutely love you. But for those who aren't really familiar with you and I guess your backstory, how did you actually get your start in the fashion industry? Because prior to your blog, or maybe even as part of, you were working in hydrology, so an engineering field.
That's
How
right.
did where does fashion fit with that?
It's funny that you even say, how did you get your start in the fashion industry? Because it sounds so formal.
Yeah.
It sounds like so real and formal and all of that, because that really wasn't what I was aiming to do. All I wanted to do was, I had a 9 to 5. I did all the things. I ticked all the boxes that you're meant to do. You go to high school, you go to uni, you get your degree, you start your job in your new career. That's kind of what's expected of you. And then I did all of that, and I was in my mid-20s, and I was thinking, is this all there is to life? You kind of do your 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, catch up with friends on a weekend, and rinse and repeat, which is fine if if it's filling your cup, and some people love their careers, and that's fantastic. But for me, it wasn't filling all of my cups, so to speak. So I had a creative side and an interest in shopping, and honestly, it was an interest in shopping, not even fashion, just an interest in shopping.
Yeah.
And I love finding pieces, treasures as I call them now, but just things that make me happy. I can create many outfits with them. I was really good at finding bargains. I was that person where someone will say, I love your dress, and I'll say, oh, it was $20.
Yeah.
And so that was another part of me. And my friends were saying, well, you always find these great deals. Why don't you share them on Instagram so we can see them in real time and not down the track when the sale is over or it's sold out? So that's how I started
Yeah.
started my fashion industry experience. It's just basically sharing what I already loved on Instagram.
Yeah. I guess when you think about, I guess some might say it's like a little humble beginning. You just had an interest and something that you loved, and you started to share it. At what point did you feel like you needed to take it a step further? Because now you do this full time, not only in terms of you've got your own jewellery and accessory line, but you're a brand ambassador, a content creator, you tick all these boxes in terms of what a stylist does. Where did the, I guess, thought process go from actually this is sort of like that fill my cup on the weekend gig to I need more?
It was at a point where I was sharing, what I liked, and I was dressing the way I liked and for my lifestyle. But then through Instagram, which is great, you're connecting with so many people. I started to form this community and speak to the other lovely ladies that were following me, and the questions started to pour in. How else do I style this? Or I bought that thing that you bought, but it doesn't quite work for me. What else is out there? And so there was these questions coming at me that I felt like I needed to take it a little bit further to help these ladies, because there's only so much you can do on social media as just a post.
Yeah.
So I started to explore the idea of retraining as a stylist to then help these and educate and answer these questions a bit better, because suddenly it was becoming not just about what I'm wearing. It's okay, how do I help this lady that's asking me as well?
Yeah. I guess because we were chatting before we hit record on this, and you mentioned that sometimes you get emails through saying, oh, I saw you through ASI, or I know about you. Can you share with me where you, I guess, learnt your fashion sort of styling expertise? And I guess, what was it about what ASI offered you that helped you get where you are now?
So I started to look into a few different style and fashion schools. But the thing about ASI that really appealed to me was not only was I going to get this education on styling and what works for different lifestyles and body shapes and color theories and all of those basics, I would say, that come part and parcel with the style course, but it was also the ongoing support that ASI provides, the Facebook group, the mentorship, the putting me out to jobs that might come in from your partners. So I really liked that community feel, and knowing that I would have a family, I guess, and friends to come back to and ask questions from, wherever my career would take me. I knew I would have a support system.
Yeah.
And that was what really ticked the box for me.
Yeah. I guess with that, is there a time when you've experienced maybe a low in business that support has really helped you get through? Or is there other ways that you sort of push through, I guess, some of those challenges that come with owning a business?
Well, when I first went full time with this, it was around the same time that COVID hit. So I'd been training to do in-center styling sessions with my clients, and suddenly all of that was taken away, and we couldn't go into the shops, we couldn't meet face to face. And I really loved how ASI pivoted and showed ways to set up virtual packages. I had a mentorship session with Bernadette, who is fantastic and been such a help to me, and we talked about ways that we can create packages for virtual sessions, and from that I was able to keep going with my styling part of my business.
Yeah, very cool. What made you decide, I guess, well, not even what made you decide, but how was that transition from a different sort of full-time job to going into this full-time? What was that like?
Scary. It was very scary, but because it was just the unknown.
Yeah.
Every time I felt like I didn't know everything, I knew that there was a community I could come back to and ask questions from to answer that. So it was really just ripping that band-aid off and being like, okay, it is the unknown, but I have my support.
Yeah.
And it also got to the point, especially with COVID and the world just turning upside down. But pre-COVID, you're kind of looking at, you want to plan everything, and you want everything you want to have a plan A, B, C, and everything is set before you make that first step. But when COVID came around, it was very much like you need to pivot like like never before.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of like, well, literally anything could happen. Doesn't matter what your plans are, anything could happen. So why not do what you love?
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that's actually something that I chat to our students a lot when it comes to, I'm ready to take that next step and either invest more time into my business, whether that's dropping hours or actually transitioning to making this a full-time gig. And I love that you shared that you were scared, because it is scary. You're going from, security of a regular income to actually working for yourself and doing it all, I guess.
Yeah.
Looking at that though, who is someone who is your biggest support to help you through?
Oh, my husband. Absolutely. And just touching on that as well, he's my biggest support, but also something that I had to realize, and I said this sounds so simple and silly maybe, but I'm the boss. So I can set my hours. I can set what days I work. I can set my schedule. So it's not in that transition period. It wasn't going from, working full time in one thing and then full time in another. It's okay. Like, let's do a couple of days a week on this and still work full time. Okay, let's see if we can break it down part time. Like, you literally have full control on how you want to transition.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as well. And I feel like looking back on it, I wish I'd realized that earlier, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think we forget that as business owners too. It's like, we are the boss. Like, we can set our own expectations, our own goals, and our own hours, like you said, and live the life that works for us, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, and of course my husband, he's the planner. I'm the, wouldn't it be nice if I could do XYZ? And whereas he really would then be my sounding board of, okay, well, if you want to do that, what's the step before that? What do you need to get to before this happens? And that way we kind of, it was, I'd say, a 2-year plan that I went through before I actually quit my day job.
Yeah.
And started the business, or went full time into the business. So it didn't happen overnight. There was a 7-year period where I'd started Instagram. I'd been, posting for fun, and then to when I actually quit. So
yeah. I think we forget that as well as outsiders, is watching someone like yourself who has cultivated, I guess when we look at social media following, sort of, we grade people based on that, just naturally, the way that Instagram works. But we forget that actually people like yourself have taken a really long time to get to where they are. And I can't remember who said this. It might have even been Richard Branson, but I could be very wrong on that. But it's like, it can take 10 years to become an overnight success.
yeah.
And it's like, you've just mentioned 7 years. It's like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of hard work that goes into getting to where you are. And, it doesn't, like you say, happen overnight, but you've got to actually, have the plan, do the work, and eventually things fall into place.
It will come. And that's why I like that you guys, like ASI, do these types of info sessions and things like that, because as I mentioned, I get emails and DMs about, oh, how did you get here? But it's not a DM conversation.
Yeah.
It's not an email conversation. It is like, it's like, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
Let's sit down and chat about it, because there was a process.
Yeah. I love that. What do you think? I mean, I know that you are a brand ambassador. Who are some of the brands that you're currently working with?
So the Iconic, I have we've got a long-term contract together now, which is amazing. I work with a lot of like smaller online boutiques, like Petal and Pup is one, and then I work with like Cotton On, Target, Kmart, all the like affordable fashion labels.
Yep.
So that's fun. I love it.
I know that at one point you had a collab with Marks and Spencer over in the UK.
Right, yes.
And they actually took you over there. That would have been an incredible experience. Can you share a little bit about that?
It was actually 2 years ago this week.
Wow.
So like on my Facebook, all the the memories are coming up, and it was my last overseas trip before COVID hit and all of that. So that was such a cool experience. Marks and Spencer and we'd been working together on collaborations for a couple of years. Basically it started because I already wore their pieces because I'd been to London and shopped there. And then when they started up a Australian website back in 2015, I would shop through that and post just my outfit. So it wasn't a collaboration, it's just I'm posting them and tagging them, and that's how I got their attention. And we started, it was interesting because they said, oh look, we really like the styling, but you share a lot of sales and we want you to share new items, which is understandable. But it was good because it opened the conversation, and I said, well, no, I share things under $150, and Marks and Spencer actually fit into that bracket very, very well.
Yeah.
So it was good to through Instagram and through just tagging, it was nice. It was a nice little avenue to open that conversation and say, look, yeah, no, I do think I'll be a good fit, and kind of back yourself a little bit, and just don't be scared to be like, no, actually I do more than sales.
Yeah.
So that's how the relationship started. And because there's no stores in Australia,
Yeah.
they took a couple of us over to London so we could get that real experience of shopping at a Marks and Spencer store, seeing the new collections, and it was great. It was a whole week, a press week.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember
and
seeing your Instagram that week, and I was like, oh, I've got London flashbacks, like, goodness.
yes, and
Yeah.
it's such an iconic city, and then it's on top of that such an iconic brand, and it's just it was such a, they did it really well because they took us around on a double-decker bus and all of that, so it was very very immersive to the London experience.
Yeah. Did you get to sample like some M&S food hall treats that they
Yes,
have?
absolutely. Percy Pig, and then I'd go in and have my salad and little sandwiches. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So good. I remember I did merchandising for Marks and Spencer in Windsor for a little while when I lived in the
Nice.
UK. So I'm familiar with the brand quite well. And yeah, the food hall, I mean, I wish they'd bring it here, even just the food hall. It's incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, I would love that. Yes.
You mentioned before about backing yourself and how sometimes in those conversations you've just got to go for it. For someone who's listening to this, are there some maybe even top 3 tips that you would provide to someone on backing yourself and actually following through?
I think uh, the main thing that you need to do is spend some time crafting what you're about.
Yeah.
Really know your why behind your business and your, so for example with content, really know your why with the content as well, if that's what you're choosing to, that's the path you're choosing to go down. Because a brand can look at your Instagram and, you know, like certain things, but like there's a lot more you can bring to the table, and you need, and if you have your why in place and you have your examples or past content that you've done, you know, think of it, your Instagram is your resume, so you know, you really draw on that, and you're backing yourself in that way. Every post you're putting up is a testament and credit to you,
Yeah.
and something you can use to go forth with.
Yeah. I think so much more now. It's not just about posting an outfit that you can put together. It's literally about being, you know, perceived as an industry expert or someone who, you know, can actually educate the people who are watching and add real value. And I think that really does come back to the why. And I know that when I'm mentoring students on our calls, you know, sometimes they're like, I'm feeling disengaged with my brand. I'm not sure what the next steps are, or, you know, I felt a little bit stagnant and I'm not sure where to go from here. And I always recommend coming back to your why, because it's so important. I know there's a great YouTube clip. I think it's a TED talk that Simon Sinek did on the power of why. And he says, you know, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think, you know, even looking at your Instagram, as much as, you know, it's filled with fashion content, underlying all of that is that key message that you're coming back to time and time again. And I just love that about what you do. And I'm really glad you've shared that now. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
I think if you get stuck, and this is kind of related to your why, but if you do get stuck, think of any questions that you've been asked by, it could be just loved ones, friends, workmates, or your community, if you have a community already on Instagram, and think about how you've answered that and the reaction of that person and how that helped that person. I think sometimes you can get caught up in numbers of, oh, I don't have enough Instagram followers and things like that, or I don't have enough clients. Break it down. Think of maybe just one person that you helped, and what that reaction was, and how valuable your information was. Like, if you need a bit of a boost, reflect on that because you have helped before.
Yeah.
So that's another way to back yourself, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that we come back to as well, is like when we've got students in the room, and I even know now, taking the certificate in-person training on the Friday, one of the recommendations I make is track your progress. You know, come back to how many clients you've worked with, gather testimonials, and really start to think about how much value you're adding in so many different ways to people. And the more that you can reflect on that, it does sort of, I guess, give you that boost to know that you're on the right track and yeah, fulfilling what you set out to do, which is really cool. Part of your business is also your jewellery accessory line. How did that come about as part of your business?
It was, I called my first range serendipity, which means by happy accident.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how it came about. So a few years ago, I did a collaboration with a jewellery brand, and it was back in 2015, and that jewellery has lasted me for years till now, 5-6 years later. Since then, I was buying other jewelry in the same price point and price range, but it didn't last. I didn't understand why though, because it's gold plated, you know, it sounds good, and it's, you know, these expensive, or not expensive, but in that same price point, but it just wasn't lasting. And I ended up making good friends with the girl that runs Ellen Rowe Jewelry, which is the brand that I'd shared all those years ago. And she kind of started explaining to me, well, this is why, it's the way it's plated, it's the processes they use. And I started to really understand jewelry, and, you know, how we can make it last longer. And something I talk about in my blog is picking things that you can pick well, style often, is a hashtag I use often, because that's how I pick my pieces and I help my clients pick pieces. And I wanted to bring that into accessories as well, so I'm not just going through and chucking out, because honestly I just cycle through pieces that I thought would last, but they didn't. And so I joined forces with my friend Claire from Ellen Rowe Jewelry, and I said, look, one day we were just having a chat, and she said, if you won the business lottery tomorrow, what's the one thing you would change or bring to your business? And I said, yeah, products, 100% products. And she said, well, let's do it. Let's start. And it started with jewelry because jewelry is something that is small. You can transport it across easily. You don't have to make different sizes of it. It is what it is. So we thought, okay, like it was a low risk way for me to move forward, where I chose 5 styles that I love and that I've been wearing for years, and just picked 5, made a small collection, and just put it out there just to see how it will go, and also to see if I liked that aspect, because an online store is very different to styling. Styling is very personable and all of that. Online it's a business. It's a different part of the brain you're using. So it was a good way to kind of test the waters. I loved the jewelry. My audience loved the jewelry, and so now we're forging ahead with the store. And next is actual clothing. So that's the next big step. But the jewelry range will always be there as well.
That's fantastic. The clothing range, that's exciting. I'm
so excited.
Oh. Are you following through with your ethos of like $150 and under sort of price bracket, or is that sort of too high level at the moment of where the project is at?
So the thing with clothing is, oh gosh, I could talk like for hours on clothing. But I basically what I would love to make a range from scratch. There is so much that goes into it, and also I want it to be size inclusive as well. And then that's another aspect that you need to kind of work through. At the moment with the COVID situation, it's really hard to source fabrics, and also there's a big backlog of things. So it's kind of like a more long-term project of me making it from scratch. So what I decided to do instead pivoting for the moment is finding Australian labels that tick my boxes of great fabrics with under the $150 price point, silhouettes that I love and I know will work for many women, and also size range that is a bit more inclusive than I can afford to kind of create myself as well right now. So that's how I've pivoted. I've found labels that fit in my requirements, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there, I guess, I mean, I'm a bit speechless by that, to be perfectly honest, because I'm like, wow, like what a cool way to, what I see from you is that you're just this constant like innovation of yourself and what you can offer. And
Oh,
I think that's so inspiring. And, you know, as someone who's also in the industry, I look at that and go, holy shit, I probably couldn't do that. Like, wow, like you're amazing.
oh.
But I just like, I think for people watching this, it's so pivotal for them, if there's any reason why you're sitting there and thinking, wow, like how do I get that? How do I make that happen? I think what you shared before about why and, coming back to that point of, investing in yourself and getting the education and the support that you need, like it's tenfold. The other thing that comes into play with creative industries is inspiration. And I'm curious as to where you get your inspiration from.
I am honestly inspired by people watching in terms of like, if we're talking about like outfits and things like that, I love just sitting and looking at what other people are wearing. I love seeing, like, say I know that there's a particular pair of pants from, say, Forecast or Portman's. I love seeing that and noticing it on different people and different body shapes and how it fits other people. Like, I really take in those sorts of details, because then that helps me with my clients as well, because it's like, oh yeah, I remember these pants worked on that body shape that I saw
Yeah.
walking down the street last week. And so I take inspiration from literally what's around me, especially when a lot of my clients and my audience, they're Australia based.
Yeah.
So it is very relevant to what I share as well. So that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, just other people.
Yeah. And I think we don't like, I mean, there's a saying that we teach at ASI, which is like, you've got to come at everything without judgment. And I think you've just explained that beautifully, which is it's actually appreciating the way different
Mm-hmm.
people interpret even one garment as simple as a pair of pants and create a look that's really authentic to them.
I always say, like, when someone says to me, oh, I was so nervous to meet you and I didn't know what to wear to meet you. And it's like, it's none of my business what you're wearing. I'm not here to judge you. It becomes my business when you say, oh, I don't know what to wear. I stress out about what to wear. Okay, now it's my business. Let's talk about it. Before that, I just appreciate what, if it makes you happy, go for it.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. I love that. I think as well, you've just shared some amazing things that are in the works for you. And I guess when you look at, I'm going to call it success in your business, how do you actually measure that for yourself? And what does success really look like to you?
Um, this is probably something I think a lot of business owners don't do, is like stop and think about like what you have achieved. But if I had to go back and say, what were my goals when I left my full-time job and came to do this? What were my goals? And it would have been in a personal level, having that flexibility, to in my day to day, like
Yeah.
I can pick and choose the projects that I work on. On top of that, I can just think of a project and notice something that might benefit my community and then go do it. Like I have that flexibility there. And so I think I really like that space I've come to. And I think that's success for me, because I'm putting all of my energy into not only creating a life that it works for me, but it also is helping other people. So
I love
I
that.
like that.
Yeah. And I guess when I think about your audience and stuff like that, you've got quite a large one. And part of that, I guess, comes into nurturing them and making sure they get what they need from you. Is there anything else you do to sort of help bridge that gap between them being on the other side of a screen and actually getting to know you, and I guess cultivating that kind of community feel with what you do?
I think it comes back to what I said earlier, where you kind of think of what questions have my audience asked me, because honestly, that's where a lot of my content comes from. And
Yeah.
even when I work with brands, and where sometimes they'll come to me with a brief, or we're brainstorming a brief, and I will say, well, no, like, actually, can we talk about this instead? Because this is kind of what I've been getting asked the past couple of weeks. Let's do that. And so it's kind of, even though I am definitely a bridge between brands and my audience, my priority is my audience. And I make that very clear, because if I'm not helping them, then what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's how it's kind of cultivated that community feel. And I really hope that they feel like I am doing it for them and advocating for them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that comes back to your values as a business owner as well. And I mean, your why, I guess, is to help
Yes,
others. And that's
yes,
essentially why you invested in your education and taking things further as well.
yes.
To wrap us up, I want to know, what are you excited about in the future?
Well, I have an ebook coming out.
Wow. I feel like I've got like insider bombshell after bombshell today. Lucky me. That's
So
amazing.
this is kind of so I have my personal styling sessions and one-on-ones that I do with my clients, and obviously then I have on the other spectrum my audience, which, as you know, it is not small. So I wanted to, and I also mentioned there are some conversations that can't happen in DMs, and it can't happen in a post.
Yeah.
So I'm putting together a ebook called Pick Well, Style Often. And it is to bridge, it's kind of like a starting point if you want a little bit of help with styling and putting things together. It's a book that's kind of combined all these questions I get asked, and all these little tips that I give out on my styling sessions. I've kind of compiled it all into a book, so it's like going to be that middle point between just my social media and one-on-one sessions. So
That's fantastic. I'm excited for that. I can't wait.
oh, you don't need it, but
I think what I love is hearing other people's perspectives on style. And I think that, and that's something that comes back with the ASI community as well, I guess, is that we're not the kind of people in our industry who don't appreciate that there's room for everyone. And we
Mhm.
actually want to celebrate in the success of other people. And the fact that you've just shared that, I'm like, oh my God, I want a copy so I can like support you as well, but
Yeah,
also
that's
hear your
lovely. Thank
insights.
you.
And, I just think that's amazing. And, I think we did our masters together actually in
We
July
did. Yes, 2019?
2019. Yes.
Yes, yes.
And I remember, even meeting you then, and I'll be honest, I was like, oh my God, Tina's amazing. Like she's got this incredible business and da, da, da. And I just think like you're even an
Oh,
inspiration to me. And I'm really
that's
grateful
sweet.
that, I met you in the classroom, and then I've had this opportunity to, I guess, reconnect with you because
Oh, that's
yeah.
sweet. Thanks, Claire. And I just while you were talking, you actually touched on something that I think is really important when you goes back to backing yourself. You mentioned, can I say 3 points? I think I only said two, but here's my last one.
Sure.
It is, it sounds so cliche, but there's only one you, and you can only convey your knowledge in your way. And there's no one else that can teach the way you do, style the way you do, make something look the way you do. And I think this is something that I've had to overcome as well, especially with so many affordable style blogs popping up on Instagram over the years. And I'll see someone style something so beautifully, and and it's a dress that I was going to do as well, and I've in the past stopped myself from posting because it's like, oh well, she did it, so like I won't do it. But it doesn't matter, because I was already going to style it in my own way, and it's going to look different on me because I'm me and I'm unique, and that's what I'm bringing to the table. So don't let other people doing things stop you. Use that as inspiration, use that as like you said, like I want to support that person as well, and just do you, boo. You do you as
I
well.
love
Like,
that. Yeah,
don't let that like dim your shine and dim your goals at
yeah,
all.
that is
There's
such
room for everybody.
there really is. And I mean, throughout Intro to Styling Week, we'll absolutely touch on all of that even more. But I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up our conversation. And I'm just really grateful that we got to reconnect and I could hear all the
Yes.
exciting things that you've not only done, but are in the pipeline. And yeah, I look forward to being able to share those across our platforms and community as well, so we can promote more of what you do and what you're about.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the support as always.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. See you soon.
See you.